Okay, what's first on our agenda?
It's Michael Larson, but he still did not show even after emailing and contacting him by phone. So he might show up, but I'm not sure. And I had to give him directions here, so.
Really?
Yeah, he's the one that parks his bus out here.
Oh yeah.
So that's what he's requesting, and I even got Louis ready just in case, so. His does say 9:30, so he might show up right around 9:30.
Okay. Any other general updates other than Jimmy's birthday? Where are we going? Where's the party this weekend, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Mike?
I guess I can say that the crew did a good job at fire control yesterday with the appreciation day, so that went quite well received.
That's good. I guess I should report on a call with the BPA Minister, John Hairston. We did that yesterday. Yeah, I kind of faltered at the beginning. I don't know if it was that background noise. I don't know, I got off my code a little bit, but I think we ended okay. But they will be, his team will be reviewing our request for aid for the determination for assistance that we submitted. So hopefully they'll be able to do that quite quickly. Yeah, I started thinking more about him, and I have met him before. He's born and raised in Portland. He played high school baseball, and then he went to college. While he's in college, he worked part-time for BPA. And then when he graduated from college, he tried to do a professional baseball stint and worked part-time for BPA, and then that didn't work out. So he went full-time with BPA, moved through their administrative side of the tree. And a lot of those folks would come and be head of the Fish and Wildlife program that I'm familiar with for the past 35 years. He never made one of those transitions. So he's always on the other side of the building from what I knew, but he knew my daughter and my grandson. And indeed, his daughters were all Division I athletes. They were all playing for the big schools in soccer, which I thought was ironic because he was a baseball player. So, interesting though. So we had a little bit of common elements as far as he went to Grant High School, and that's where my grandson goes. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Go ahead, Len.
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, yeah, I thought the meeting went well. However, I would like us to do a follow-up letter with him, thanking them for meeting with us and then asking him for timeframes on when they can get back to us on their determination. So we have a better idea just for planning purposes.
That's thank you letter is definitely in order. The Mission Valley Power will be coming back to give an update on that too, because they're working on it at the same time. Yesterday was just trying to grease the skids a little bit. So we could wait until after Cindy comes in, gives us another update from Mission Valley Power, and then see if we got a time frame. And we can ask Mr. Normando that also. You were listening in, Carol? Was that?
Yeah, I'm the one that had the mic on, so sorry, I didn't mean to do that to you. I didn't know, we were driving. I was just trying to listen. Yeah, Mr. Chair. Huh? Oh. I was the background noise until I realized I had it on, so sorry about that. Yeah, I was curious about the time frames too, but yeah, sometimes when you get in those moments, you don't, you know.
The contract we have with BPA, it provides that. I just don't recall what their response time is in that need for aid like that. I'd have to try to dig it up and look at it.
You know what I was gonna ask, was the board, Mission Valley Power Board on there, on the call?
No, it was just simply us, and his team.
I thought, so is there a parallel track going on with what our conversation yesterday and Mission Valley Power with the same gentleman? Yes, no?
We jumped to the top, and they're working through the system. And so the letter went out for us to get that assistance from
Okay,
BPA to
Thank
provide that additional 7.5 megawatts, whatever it is.
thanks for that clarification, I just wasn't.
Yeah. So the question would be, I fully expect that they will provide us electrons. Would be at what cost? Go ahead, Jen.
I have Rob and Lisa Peel here if you guys want to do theirs.
Let's do it. Come on up, Rob.
All right.
Another TV production, huh?
I've been with the water technicians, drinking from a water hose, fire hose, trying to keep up with our veterans. Well, it's good to be seen. Glad to be here. And actually, I'm here on a kind of a communications type information request. You're probably more than familiar with our very successful film, The Untold Story of La Tatitza, and how well that helped tell our story at that time and advance understanding of important ideas and values that we hold, and retold some of our histories, you know, with the help of some of you up here. Daniel Glick was the director of that film and had been in high demand ever since. Other nations around the state and other areas have blocked up his time, so I'd been unable to attract his attention. But then I got a break as I was looking at our own water compact, and as I am trying to become more skilled at my job of one of the duties is finding the best way to tell the story and to who of the water compact and its meaning. And the part of it that I felt needed a strong emphasis and focus and clarity was the water measurement program, which is the backbone of the architecture of the compact. It allowed us to be where we are now, and in the future it'll be the scorecard we'll be watching to see of each project we successfully implement and put in and invest into. It'll allow for efficiencies that'll increase the amount of water that we can recapture and reallocate for different uses, for our uses, wildlife mitigation, kind of completing our vision of the compact. And I would like to get more eyes on that number as we move down the path of getting more and more of these projects, not only going, but, you know, successful, implemented, and moving on. It kind of gives us like a box score for the community, us, tribal, non-tribal, to kind of view how we're moving the needle with each of these projects. And we are tracking, we know exactly how much impact we're having, but it's very technical. And even embedding with our technicians, I am still struggling daily to find ways to explain it in ways that are understandable to classrooms, to those who aren't technicians. And I was thinking it'd be wonderful if Daniel Glick could help in this, because his method and the way he approached it with the bison range was so successful. And lo and behold, skies opened. He said, I have a few month opening and I'd love to help out. So that is what led to me putting forward this idea. And as we talked, he said, you're going to need animation. You're going to need some drone footage. We talked back and forth. And it's not the kind of film that's shot with one camera, a couple interviews. It's a little more demanding of time, and the price reflects that. That's why I wanted to be here in person to talk about it and say that I would love this to be kind of the backbone of future projects. But I felt this topic has been in place. It has been since 1982. We've had this impressive measurement program. We have veterans like George McLeod, who's soon to retire. And this is my last shot to kind of capture him, his effort, his wisdom, and his vision in putting this in. He's the one who hired Seth Makepeace way back when, and kind of telling the story, as Brian Lipscomb would say, soup to nuts of water measurement, but in a way that people can process and digest. So that's what I put before you as a request to pursue the contract with Daniel Glick to tell this story. And hopefully it's the first of several more that'll come that probably won't be of this caliber, but it kind of sets the framework for more films to follow along and more efforts to tell the story.
Carol?
Wasn't Bill Faust in there too?
Oh, yeah. Well, yes, I was working there as a hydrologist when Seth was in school and they signed him to me to work and train with. But when we hired him permanent, yeah, Bill was there.
I remember when this issue came, I don't know, I wasn't in council yet, but, you know, worked for the tribes, and I thought, why are we doing this? And I couldn't figure it out because it was a pretty good amount of money. And then you come to this day, and that is the most important thing that we did as a tribe, is to have that data to prove what we were saying. And so, yeah, I think that's important place to start, because those people were dedicated and they were a critical part of the whole thing. And yeah, good. I'm excited.
I can remember when we first started the river honoring, and I was trying to get people to go do presentations, you know, and have stations. And George was just horrifically reluctant to do that, as were so many people. But it's just like Rob says, you know, these guys are experts in their field. And I went to George and said, George, you know this like the back of your hand. You're just gonna be a natural at this, and offering a field station at the river honoring, and he, you know, I convinced him to do it. You know, it's technical when you're sitting there trying to explain this and showing measurement devices and all that, all the apparatuses and paraphernalia that goes with it. And I worked with him a little bit to try to, you know, talk it down a bit, but George stepped up and he kept doing it. But I think it's a great idea, and it's a complicated subject matter, and it does nothing but behoove us to have that edification out there, and especially for the residents of the reservation, and it could reach even farther. So I know I'm fully supportive of this effort. It's a difficult thing. I did my own, just so you know, Rob. I did some of my own videos of that. I did a training video at the Boulder Hydro Plant to be able to show other technicians how to run the hydro plant. And I videotaped Craig Padilla on how we shut down and run the hydro plant. It was pretty cool. I got a lot of old footage of lots of stuff, VHS tapes. It's good to know. During my whole career. Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I definitely support the project. I only have one confusion. It talks about one price in the what is this thing called? Attachment A is not the same price as in the contract, and that's got me confused.
You're probably referring to either the cost of motel and housing for the director or the contingency difference.
It talked about 50% of the project being 37.2, and the other 50% due when done. That's a lot more than the 47 that's in the contract.
Let me double check, because in attachment A was how Daniel asked to do business of half upfront, half upon conclusion, and that was the amount excluding housing. And so 50% of the total project of 3720 is what we're talking about, correct? So he would invoice immediately for half of 3720 or 37,200.
I thought that was the 50%.
No, sorry, that's the total amount.
Oh.
So half of that.
Gotcha.
Glad we cleared that up.
So is council okay with proceeding with Rob to enter into a contract with Daniel Glick? Motion by Len. Second by Jennifer. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you, council. I forgot to mention, but Casey Ryan's department has I call it the hydro tracker. And it's got a larger, longer name where anybody can go into the CSKT NRD site, click on the little icon of water measurement and get live feeds. So you get real-time measurement levels of water in key areas, which primarily fishermen, recreationalists, hydrologists pay attention to. But when you think about how far we've come since 1982, you can just turn on the PC or your iPad and know water flows instantly, and then see the history of it, chart it, graph it out. So I'm hoping to unlock that so the whole community knows another success story we've done that hasn't quite been brought to light. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Rob. All right, I see Jermaine's in the room. Can we take Jermaine next? Okay, Jermaine, come on up. That's quick.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Tribal Council members. I'm delighted to be here this morning with colleagues from the Glacier National Park Conservancy. We came bearing gifts, so may we take a moment to distribute those to you, please?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
That mug. Quite amazing. Made in the USA too.
Again, I'm delighted to be here. I'm here today with Doug Mitchell, Executive Director, Grace Kinsler, Administrative Assistant, and to my right, Lacey Kowalski, Associate Director of Programs and Policy. And I believe we have the Chair of our board, Rick Bennett, who's joining us remotely, and Margaret Notley, our board chair-elect. So, Mr. Chairman, and council members, we're following up on the meeting we had last year when we talked with you about the Conservancy's Tribal Relations Working Group. We talked about, we came here to listen to what your issues and concerns were and to introduce ourselves and to begin building a good working relationship. It was our intention to listen to what you had to say, what your concerns were, what your interests were, and as I recall, you talked about your keen interest in having our youth visit Glacier, learn the landscape, and return to that landscape and become more engaged. We also heard you talk about the impact on tribal lands that we saw after Glacier instituted ticketed entry. And the third thing we talked about was our keen interest in joining you in hosting a meeting here. Last year, the spring of this year, we, Blackfeet tribes, were our host, and we had a very successful meeting there. And this coming year, in the spring of 2023, we would like to hold our board meeting here. And before I go any further, I want to make sure that I give Doug an opportunity to talk about the Tribal Relations Working Group, what it was we heard from Tribal Council, and what our plans are going forward.
Thank you, Jermaine. Mr. Chairman, members of the, thank you, Jermaine. Mr. Chairman, members of the council, it is a distinct honor for me to be here with you today. Thank you for the privilege of appearing here. We are really honored to be able to do the work that we do as the nonprofit partner of Glacier National Park. That gives us the ability to fund what we like to call the margin of excellence in the park, to help the National Park Service and Glacier National Park provide opportunities, educational opportunities, scientific research opportunities, and preservation opportunities around the park that, frankly, federal tax dollars are no longer sufficient to be able to provide. In so doing, it lets us bring an outside perspective from our partners and our supporters that is also important to this work and helps extend the cultural connectivity that sometimes the National Park Service has a hard time being able to do themselves. In this work, one of the things that we have been very proud to support is Native America Speaks. This was the 40th anniversary of the Native America Speaks program. Many tribal members from the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribe participate in that program and provide visitors with a very rich opportunity to hear the real story of the land that we call now Glacier National Park. In addition, we're able to work with the park to challenge them to think differently about these relationships. One of the ways we've done that this year, and again, by listening to you and listening to our neighbors on the Blackfeet Nation, is to think about tribal language, tribal naming, and to bring that into the conversation at Glacier National Park. So we're very pleased, and it is a direct result of the conversations we have had both with this council and with the council at the Blackfeet to be funding next year the first step in what we hope is a very robust program of returning Native language and Native names to the land we currently call Glacier National Park. So part of this is really a journey, and we're at the starting part of this journey. Jermaine and Cheryl Cobell Zwang, who is an enrolled member of the Blackfeet Nation, co-chair with the superintendent of the park, the superintendent himself, the Tribal Relations Working Group. So important is this work that two of our board members and the superintendent chair that working group. And they are committed to helping create a long-term vision to build this relationship. We think that being able to be in community with each other is important. That's why we're honored to be here today. And that's why we would like to come back with our entire board and our staff and share time with you next May. We think that's an important way for us to be in community with each other, and that it'll make our work that much more effective. So thank you very much for allowing me to say some words this morning and for being here.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you. I think we would be happy to be a host of the meeting. I just would hope that we could maybe, is this venue big enough, this room?
Mr. Chair, the board meetings are typically 3 days, or 2 days, excuse me. It seemed like 3 days. 2 days, and so I would imagine that one day we would have a field trip, and that we would have some tribal council engagement, and one day we would have a working meeting. So that's what I assume we would have.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of council, this room would be fantastic. To be honest, it would be a real honor, a real treat for us to be able to participate here. What we did at the Blackfeet Nation is next year would be the 25th and 26th of May is what we're currently looking at. And we were able to come together as a group on that Thursday in the morning. Both the tribal council and the board and staff of the Conservancy share some time together in the morning, and then we went out together and learned from the Blackfeet leaders about the projects that were important to their nation, and those included employment issues, conservation issues, wildlife issues. It was really an exciting afternoon. And then we adjourned the next morning and didn't want to take too much of your time. And we adjourned the next morning for our internal board meeting. No need for you to see how sausage gets made in that effort. But again, on your lands, and that really gave us the ability then to have board members have experiences in a place that is not our home. So that would be kind of our construct for that meeting.
And Mr. Chairman and tribal council members, I do have a couple of ideas about a field trip that I'd be delighted to share with you, and we can maybe talk more about the details of that.
I'm sure you do, Jermaine.
Having organized a couple of field trips during my tenure in your department, I think this might be something that I could assist with.
Consensus of council to host the next spring meeting, May 24th or 25th to 26th. Field trip day and meeting day. That's far enough in advance. I think we can facilitate it and host you as best we can. Field trip, working lunch, whatever you can do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, tribal council members. I'm delighted to meet with you today, and I look forward to working with you in preparation for the Glacier National Park Conservancy board meeting in May.
Just quickly, I have to ask because they're our neighbors. Is there anything specifically that the Blackfeet Nation was requesting besides similarity, language, and place name?
They were keen to have place names. There was some concern about employment that USA Jobs opens opportunities for especially professional employment at Glacier and closes them. Really, the window is short, and it's the USA Jobs, a government jobs procedure, and that's problematic for people. They're keen to see more tribal people have employment opportunities at Glacier. Doug, help me out here.
I think a couple of the other issues that are really related to their nearness right on the border We're the ANIA initiative, and this is an initiative that the park to return the native Blackfeet bison herd to the park. So that's one of the ongoing projects that they're very interested in, obviously. The other is native fish that we're working very closely with the park. We're supporting projects in the park financially that allow the return of native cutthroat trout to fisheries in the park. And they wanted to create a more closeness in that work with the Blackfeet because, of course, has an impact on the reservation. So those are a couple of the other topics that we discussed.
One of the other topics that is in discussion is AIS. And it's also, as I recall, something that this council is very keen to ensure that our boundary to the north does not introduce AIS into the watershed that we have here. So AIS was also, aquatic invasive species was also a robust point of discussion. I think those were the primary concerns that Blackfeet brought. AIS, bison, employment, anything else, Lacey? Or
Cool. Thank you for sharing that for me. I'm assuming that the Conservancy supports buffalo back in the park.
Absolutely. It's a very, it's an initiative that we have supported over the past 4 or 5 grant cycles with the park because, of course, it needs to be done, appropriately. It is really a very exciting prospect, and it is among the most significant. If we're able to get that done in my tenure, this will be really a legacy project, one of the most significant accomplishments. Really, it's really incredible.
Okay. Any questions from council? Comments? Thank you for coming in, and we look forward to our partnership and presenting ideas together and working together. So thank you for being so inclusive.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you.
All right, who's next? Go ahead, Jen.
We got Mike Larson here.
Okay, come on up, Mike.
And I have Louis McDonald coming down as well.
You're on. Good. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Mr. Larson,
Good morning,
or Judge Larson, I'm sorry.
Judge Larson. I'm the Polson City judge. I'm currently running for Lake County Justice of the Peace. So what I'm here for is to see about parking in your senior citizen center in St. Ignatius. Probably some of you have seen my pink bus. It was the cherry pickers classroom. It was built for the cherry picker migrant kids. So it's pink. It's pink on the title. So it's kind of fun. I'm enjoying it. And it's getting a lot of attention everywhere I go. People are, I don't know if they were catching the name, but they're catching the pink bus. So anyway, St. Ignatius and the southern part of Lake County is extremely important to me. And I want to have representation there. The highway department is pretty picky about where I could park the bus, so I'm running out of options. And so I made an inquiry. The lands I was parked across from Quatoknak. My neighbor Ken Dupuy had given me permission to park on that property, but apparently in the last couple of years there's been a buyout, and he's now a minority owner rather than majority owner. And he apparently wasn't aware of that or forgot about that. So anyway, so that took away my number 1 spot, which led me to talk to Lance, Louis, and here. So as you know, there's not many days left until the election, so I'm not looking to permanently put anything there. I'd like permission to see if I could park 2 days, 3 at the max, and I drive on in the morning and drive off in the evening. if that was, work for you. I think this is a nonpartisan, and I think that's real important. And I run a court accordingly. I'm a strong believer that I'm a strong candidate for the tribe, even though we don't have tribal members, but we sure have a lot of people you know and relatives and et cetera. And I'll assure you that anybody walks in my court who gets treated extremely fairly, whether either side of whether a defendant or a plaintiff, it doesn't matter. That's how they get treated. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to ask if I could have a couple days between now and November 8th to park my pink bus.
Thank you, Michael. Just for the information for council, who's your opponent?
Excuse me?
Who are you running against?
Rick, I never get his name pronounced
Rick
right.
Shaney?
Yeah, Slaney, exactly.
Okay, thank you. Carol?
Yeah, if it requires a motion, I'll make that motion to allow Mr. Larson to park his bus and park his Waldo somewhere.
Thank you.
Louis said that there was only certain places, so that's why I had him come in for location wise.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Motion by Carol to approve Michael Larson's portable sign to be displayed on available tribal lands per lands department direction. Second by Len. Any further direction? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Thank you. Thank you. So what I do now is get a permit from Louis.
Louis is right back there. He's
Oh,
snuck
okay.
in behind you.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
He does that to everybody. Just good reminder to vote. I already voted absentee.
Joe Derglow's online.
All right, Joe, you're up next.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Tribal Council members. I am here to request approval to purchase capital equipment for the nearly completed Ronan Health Center. My request begins on page 4. Page 5 lists much of the equipment we require for that clinic. The highlighted items are the capital equipment items. There is one additional capital equipment item near the bottom of the list, the 5,875 item for the EKG machine. Many of these are non-competitive requests to purchase capital equipment, and the explanation about why non-competitive is on page 6 for many of them. Really it's an indication of the supply chain issues that continue across the country. Many of these vendors did not respond at all. Some of them have gone out of business. So in an effort to keep this project moving and be prepared for the Ronan clinic opening, we need to get these in. Some of these have extended delivery dates on them. So we want to get this process started. I believe there was a commitment from IHS for some portion of this funding. We're trying to track that down now. I have been in contact with IHS. They have indicated there was an approval, but I think Ruth is checking on actually the transfer of those particular funds. We have, in addition to those IHS funds, we have some ARPA funds we could use to pay the balance if those are not available at this time, or if they exceed that amount.
Joe, I guess I got one trivia question. I just wondered, is this kind of equipment something that's available through GSA?
I'm not certain of GSA. We use the McKesson and Henry Schein, which are, I guess, GSA contracts.
Government,
Um,
you know, you can purchase some equipment through the federal government, GSA. I just didn't know if they did medical equipment or not.
Yeah, I guess, uh, again, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure if it's through a GSA contract, but these are the government vendors that IHS uses, so.
Carol?
Joe, it's probably in here, but what is the total cost of all this equipment?
Page 5, I'm sorry, page 5.
Okay,
There is a total down at the bottom right.
all right, and this is all coming out of third party except for when you find the money where it's that you'll know how much that's gonna cost.
It'll be primarily out of the IHS funding. We submitted a request some time ago for equipment to purchase medical equipment for this facility. So IHS provided an allocation. So it'll be an additional IHS allocation.
Okay, and then also Rick told me at one point there might be a fitness center there. Is that in or out?
That is not part of this
Okay, thank you.
presentation.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So to summarize, a request to a non-competitive purchase of equipment for the Ronan Health Center.
Motion by Carol to approve the equipment request. Second by Bing. Any further discussion? Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Joe, you said some of the companies have gone out of business that you were looking at. I'm just wondering about the upkeep and maintenance of these. Do you have a fund set up to maintain or keep these running?
Good question, Councilman Pitts. Good to hear your voice. Yes, we have contracts in place with vendors to service our equipment either as needed or on a reoccurring basis. So yeah, that's part of our operations. We have those contracts in place.
Thank you.
Jimmy?
Yeah, Joe, on this equipment, the delivery dates, if they extend longer, is that gonna delay the opening of this?
I think yes. I guess short answer is yes. If we don't have the necessary equipment to operate a health clinic, it would delay those dates. I think we are really tight now. I think we just completed a walkthrough of the health clinic this week. It's a beautiful space. They are nearing completion, but there are some additional items they're still working on. So construction, again, is tentatively scheduled to be completed near the end of November. So the building's really not available for those deliveries until probably December, January. So we're on a tight schedule now. So if there are some delays in equipment, then yeah, it may impact our service opening date.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. Call for vote. All those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Council. Again, the space down there is in a state where it might be much easier to take a quick tour of that. Beautiful space. If you get a chance to coordinate that, I would encourage you to go take a look at that space.
Thank you, Joe. Good job. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd say we have John Nice and then take a break.
I'd say that's a good idea. Bring John up here to the hot seat.
Good morning.
You thought you'd never get away from Job Corps, huh?
I like long goodbyes, I guess.
Don't we all?
I'm gonna skip 33 through 50 for the time, or reschedule that. And we'll jump right to the kicking horse one, the records warehouse. The bid come in over 250,000, so we're looking for contract approval of $290,564.03 for the remodel of the old warehouse, which it was just a warehouse. So we have to have climate control. It just had the old garage heater in it. Flooring this has to be fixed up, offices have to be fixed up, windows, insulation, roof, a whole makeover on it. So
How many square feet is it, John?
not sure.
I was just looking at the numbers and trying to think about building new, and having that comparable. But is it a couple thousand square feet?
No, it's more than that. I would say we're under a new build though.
Any questions from council? A little over the estimate that John had. There are changes in building materials, definitely. Blame all those people moving here.
Building materials and everything is pretty volatile right now, but not as bad as it was, say, 6 months ago or a year ago. It's settled down quite a bit. Delivery is still a ways out, not as bad as it was though. So things are improving.
Well, for me, as long as we're still under the price of new build, it's still worth doing. Motion by Land to approve the contract with Big Joe's Construction as the bidder. Second by Jimmy. Any further discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, John. We're going to take a break. 44 Shoreline.